Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this special training. I'm super excited to be collaborating with Cami here. This is called Ignite Your Flame, Amplify Your Voice, sharing your message in today's world. I am Jessica Rhodes. I am the founder and co owner of Interview Connections. Many of you here are Interview Connections clients, so you know me and what we do. But if you are from Cami's world, or if you don't yet know me and Interview Connections, we are the world's first ever podcast booking agency. So we book entrepreneurs as guests on podcasts and help them to amplify their message, repurpose their podcast interviews to really build their digital footprint online and reach new audiences. I started Interview Connections in 2013 out of a desire to be a stay at home mom when I was pregnant with my first child. I asked my parents for some advice on what I could do for income, and my dad recommended that I start a business online as a virtual assistant. He was my first client, and one of the things that he asked me to do for him was to book him as a guest on podcasts. And the rest is history. We have been blazing the trail here in this podcast space as it continues to grow and grow and grow. And I've had the pleasure of working with Cami Gildner, and we are teaming up for this because she does amazing things. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Cami, to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Jess. First of all, I love Interview Connections. It's been, we have had such good collaborations over the year, and I loved being a client of Interview Connections. I just love what you do. I think you are definitely the top in your space, and the first and the top in your space. And you're always the group that I turn people to when they're wanting to be on podcasts more. So that's I always send people your way because
Great.
I believe in you guys. So I'm Cami Gellner. I'm a business coach and I help women entrepreneurs raise up their voice and their visibility and grow businesses that they love. And it's very much about building businesses that bring time prosperity and both wealth prosperity. I'm really in a season of my business where I am working with change makers, with movement makers, women who want to create big ripple effect out in the world. And I actually do work with men as well. So, but my core focus is with women. And I host a conference every year called Extraordinary Women Ignite. I'm hosting my 11th conference this year. So I've been doing it a long time. I run mastermind programs, and when I'm looking at what I'm helping women raise up their voices, it is very much about the thought leader and who you are, and then also how you're attracting clients into your business and building messaging that stands out, that really puts you as the position as a leader in your space. And so that when people think of your category, they're thinking of you. And I want people to do this in a way that they're really embodying who they are, that light of who they are, so that people are leaning in. And we're going to be talking a lot today about what's happening in the world, what's shifting and what's changing in this space that is, if we look at what's happening, there's so much noise that's out there on the, on the interwebs and all the different places. There's so much noise. And there's division that's happening, right? There's division that is happening that's dividing so many of our people. And I think that what we can do as leaders in our space is to be able to show up and lead outside of all that noise, outside of all the division, and start to say, okay, this is the change that we want to be bringing in the world. And that's something that I'm just really passionate about. And Jess, I know you are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much, division in the world. And specifically, where I see that the most is on social media, where
Yeah.
things are very quick. There's posts. I mean, for the most part, have taken social media off my phone. I'm doing my best not to even scroll. And because I know that a lot of the posts I see are going to bring down my energy and bring down my
Mhm.
vibe, but that I also know I'm probably missing out on positive messages too, but it's just so hot and cold that I just try to tune it out altogether. But what I haven't given up on is listening to podcasts
Yeah.
and, finding places where I can hear people speak in long form where you have the full context. And so we're going to be talking about that today, really honing your message, crafting your message, knowing what message you want to get out into the world, and then giving you some tips and strategies on how to actually amplify it and have it be heard. One of my favorite quotes that I heard from Brene Brown many years ago. I saw her speak at Inbound in Boston. I think it was like 2018 or something like that. And I remember she said, "It's hard to hate people close up." And this is just such a powerful quote because when you really get to know someone, when you really hear the full message, not just like one, post on Facebook or one kind of cryptic message. Like, I don't know why people think that that's like an interesting way to market is just like one post. And I'm like, what's the full story? But there's missing so much context. But when you really when you really hear someone speak long form, you can really get to know them. And so that's why I'm really excited about this conversation. And there's just so much noise. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of information being thrown at us every day. We're in information overload. By the end of the day, we have fatigue of like how many things we're deciding. What do we want to take in? And and so we're going to really talk today about, crafting your message so people want to take it in.
Yeah. And I think I too am listening to a lot of podcasts these days. I mean, that's where I get all of my information is through podcasts because one, there's so much censorship that's out there that's changing it. And so like finding the voices that we want to be connected into and hearing, where the truth is coming from, hearing where the messages that we want to align ourselves with, that keeps us uplifted as well, too, right? I mean, I think that's a big part of it because in all of the noise, we can get lost if we go down the rabbit hole of just a lot of negativity. So, like, what keeps us tuned into the truth, but also what keeps us uplifted? So, both sides of that.
Yeah, the censorship thing is really interesting. It's one of the things that's really prevalent right now, both with, in traditional media, like Jimmy Kimmel being taken off and then putting back on. Like there's a lot of like big picture, big news around censorship. But if we just look at like, how does this impact us as entrepreneurs? I did an Instagram reel talking about our clients who are relationship and intimacy and sex coaches. And the whole video was muted because I said the word sex. And I was talking about podcast guesting. I was talking about like getting your message out there and talking about topics that people feel like a little bit taboo about. The whole video was muted. And I'm like,
Wow.
this is crazy. Like, what? And so that's why it's so important to go outside of these platforms, not rely on short form content alone on Facebook and Instagram, but go to these independent platforms where you can share your full message because when you're on an independent platform, you will be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other part of that, the long form content is so good for is right now there's a lot of trust deficit in the business world. And so Google actually talks about it takes 11 hours of consuming content across 7 different touch points across 4 different platforms before people are actually even making a decision. And so if you want to get to 11 hours of content, that's a lot of content to consume. And one of the best ways to do that is through guest podcasting or podcasts. It's like, getting your voice out there so people can go and they can binge on your content and they can listen to it. And that's where, and I'll talk a little bit about, I teach an marketing ecosystem that is around how do we build know, love, and trust. So like it's beyond the know, like, and trust, but it's actually the know, love, and trust. And that can, when we take time to create long form content that can be parsed down into shorter form content as well. But that long form content, if we start with that, it becomes the foundation of how we can really build relationships because people get on a call with us and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you because I have been listening and listening and listening to, I've been binge listening to you on all your different guest spots and your own podcast or whatever that looks like for you for your long form content.
Yeah, I love that. When I learned about that trust deficit, I learned about that through the panel that you hosted, Cami. Was that earlier this year?
Yeah, the
And
round table.
so good. And that just really blew my mind. And it was such a good lesson. I think in addition to that, people are binging this long form content before they ever opt in. So it's not just, oh, they opt in and they start listening to your podcast, but buyers are really looking you up online, watching your videos, listening to your podcast before they ever even opt in. So that's why it's so important to get your whole message out there, not just in these like short little posts on social media, but like really speaking long form through speaking opportunities, through podcasts, through videos. That is huge.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is the old paradigm was very much about what's your reach, what's the, how many likes, how many, all of the metrics that were there. And I think that paradigm is really shifting um, to relationship over reach. So how do you build deeper relationship with your communities? And that's really starting to shift how we market. So we're not building funnels that are just like trying to push people through a system. We're actually building ecosystems that people get to know who we are.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so in all of this noise and division that we've just talked about, it's connection and it's authenticity that really makes people that we want to create. We want people to pause and lean in and start to feel into what you're bringing out. So as you're thinking about your marketing for everyone here, it's like, what gets people to lean in and feel like, oh my gosh, I want to know more from this person. And one of the ways that I like to do this is really helping my clients create their own thought leadership messaging. So this is starting to build trust over tactics. And so when I look at building building your thought leadership message, like to talk about your one message for the world. And this is something I've been helping my clients develop one message for the world for all of my 16 years of being an entrepreneur. But I used to actually help in the corporate world as well. I was very fortunate to get to work with Ogilvy PR for a couple of years on a very large project, a multi-million dollar project that I had with them, where they were helping the people in the company that I work for build their thought leadership message. And so we took about 150 people through a year-long training that I got to develop with Ogilvy. And it's work that I get to bring into what I do today, but it's really about like, if the whole world could hear one message from you, what is that? So this is the question I want you guys to start thinking about. If the whole world could hear one message from you, what would that message be? And I want to give you some examples. So when you think of Brene Brown, and let's use the chat box a little bit here. When you think of Brene Brown, what do you think she stands for? What when you think of her, what pops up for you? What message? Vulnerability. Yep. Any others? Vulnerability is strength. Yep. The other thing she talks a lot about is courage, leadership, right? So courage. So she has a saying that says you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you can't choose them both, right? So that's something, and it kind of fits along the same lines of the vulnerability side of it. But it's like we know that she has these sayings. And here's one more hint. I talk about one message for the world. You can have a couple of different core messages and switch from them depending on what you're talking about, but it becomes the center of what you're bringing to life in any given, like if you're guest podcasting, if you're on a stage, it's the center message you want people walking away with. So Brene is one of those. What about Malala? When you think of Malala, what does anybody have anything what she stands for? I see some typing. I got courage there. Yeah, definitely she stands for courage. Everyone deserves to be educated. Absolutely, Frankie. And specifically girls, right? So she'll say girls should make history and they should make it. So that's an educational one. Dr. Joe Dispenza is another great one. What does he stand for? What do you guys think he stands for? Any ideas? So his quote that I've got for you today is hope and determination. Yeah, the moment you start feeling abundant and worthy, you are generating wealth. So he's really about generating wealth from the inside out, right? It's really like that. I have a client that developed her one message for the world, and it's what if we stopped asking girls if they're good at math and started asking them what problems they'd like to solve. So it's like, and what that is doing, it's getting people to stop and think and act and do differently. And that's the core thing. When you're thinking about your one message for the world, what are you wanting people to stop and think and act and do differently? My own is I have a couple actually. So one is you can't outsource your leadership of thought, and you can't AI your leadership of thought. That is one that that I like to use, and it's that's getting us to stop and think. So we can't think of our big messaging and just AI it. You actually have to do the work. It's like, what do I stand for? And so that's the question I want you guys starting to think about. And so you can, and this is not something that you take away and you just like, you figure out just, over like a 5-minute conversation, right? This actually takes time to really think through what is it that you want to stand for. But I want to give you some tips on what a good one message for the world is. It's your opinion and it's your belief. It's memorable and it's short and repeatable, so that people, that you can roll it off of your tongue. And it's conversational because you want people to be able to, you want to, like, if you're on a podcast interview, you want to be able to drop that into the conversation and get people to lean in and go, oh, tell me more about that. So it becomes a conversational opener. You're putting a stake in the ground on something that you want to stand for and something that you want to change. You want to create change with, and it provokes thought and it invites depth. And it can feel vulnerable. It can feel disruptive. It's like that kind of a statement that you're really starting to put out there. What it's not is a marketing tagline. It's not a positioning statement. So it's like I help people do this. That's not what you're trying to do there. It's something that is like, it's more conversational than that. And you're getting people to change their opinion, right? It's not a generic inspirational saying like, live your best life. It's too cliche, right? And it's not abstract or academic. It's not overly clever. It's really just a statement that you can bring, that you're dropping. And I love my clients that, Dana's, who is, what if we stopped asking girls if they're good at math and started asking them what problems they wanted to solve. So we're getting people to react and do something differently. So from that work, that becomes your core message. And then you can start to actually build out messaging maps around that, where you're talking more to your client's love language, where you're getting into your customer journey and why does that message tie to it. So I actually draw, and I'm going to just give you a visual right here. Think about, you have your core message in the middle, and then you have 4 boxes on the outside. These are the points that you want people to know, once you're talking about this topic. And here's the best clue is when you are developing your podcast one sheets, is that you can take your questions, you can take your topics right off of this, because once you've done this work, you know what you want to talk about. And it just gives you a really great tool to be able to go in and say, here's something to that you can ask me about that gets me back to these topics. And it really helps you direct and guide your interview in a way that is aligned with what your core message that you want to put out there. And then you weave in your stories, you weave in, so this just becomes your messaging matrix. So
I just want to say, Cami, I love this. I think this is so helpful, and I can see the gears turning for everyone here, especially my clients that I know are have their one sheets, and it's just got me thinking too, because I'm such a marketer that I do jump right to like the marketing tagline. And I think a lot of us are, might be guilty of thinking like, okay, how can I weave this into like my elevator pitch? But I think it's a really good challenge and question to, a point to make, that it's not just a tagline. Like, what do you
yeah,
stand for? Like, that's a much different question than what do you do? And like,
yeah.
what's the value of your service? It's like, no, what do you stand for? That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think once you have that, it becomes something that you become known for, and people go, oh my gosh. I have 2. So I mentioned the one that I have, and the other one I say is women's wisdom is the medicine our earth needs. And so that's something that people, again, they'll lean into. And where this all was originated was when we were putting people on television interviews. we wanted our people to stay on topic. So when I go back to my corporate years, when I was, when we were putting our employees on television interviews and we wanted them to stay on topic, this became their go-to message map that they would work with to be interviewed. And also, not so much in podcasts. I don't feel like we get pulled off into a direction of a place we don't want to go, but with a media interview, you can definitely fall down that category where a reporter has an alternative motive, right? But you can, keep your interview on topic. I don't find that so much as I don't feel that with podcasts, but I've definitely seen it with television interviews.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you'll see it so much less with podcasts because you're probably giving them a podcast one sheet.
Yeah,
If you don't give the host your one sheet and your suggested topics and questions, they'll ask you
whatever.
whatever they
Yeah,
want. And you might be
yeah,
like, this is not really on topic with my expertise, but okay, let me answer your question. So, yeah,
yeah.
having that one sheet and helping to guide it really
Absolutely.
helps.
I totally agree with the podcast one sheet. It's what, I've done hundreds of interviews now, guest interviews, and it's like, that's the way to stay on topic always is with the podcast one sheet. Okay. The other thing I want to just bring here today is just once you have your message that you know what your message is learning to really embody that message, like so that it comes from you. And this is why it can't be outsourced or AI'd, because it's got to be something you believe at your very core. And when you believe it at your very core, that's where you shine most brightly in your messaging. The other thing I'm doing right now, when I think about what I'm doing in this environment right now, is really doubling down on this know, love, and trust marketing ecosystem. And I mentioned that at the beginning of our call today, but I'm just going to give you a quick glimpse of what that actually means. I'm throwing out the funnels. That's not where I want to put my effort and my energy into. It feels really sterile to me. And my marketing is very much about creating relationships. So going back to the relationship side of this. So instead of a marketing funnel, which would be a triangle, upside down triangle, what I want you to envision is an octagon. So you've got shorter on the top, shorter on the bottom, and wider in the middle. And in a marketing ecosystem, you're going to start at the foundation. You're going to start at the foundation of the people who already know, love, and trust you. There's probably people in your community right now who you can continue to have conversations and bring them deeper into your work. So that's a place that I think we often forget to start. So start there. Think about who are your community members that you want to just keep engaging, and I'm going to tell you how you can do that. And then at the top of your octagon, you've got other people's audiences. And my favorite places to do this is guest podcasting and stages. So those two places is like, how do you bring more people into your marketing ecosystem as you go talk to other people's audiences? And when they come into your ecosystem, you've got to have a place to take them deeper into your work. And just does this so well. We do this as well. We do trainings on a very regular basis. How often do you do master classes, Jess?
Almost every month. There's just 2 months of the year where we skip it, like July and November, but every other month we always have a
Yeah,
way for people to spend
yeah.
4 hours in a week with us.
Yeah, exactly. And so what are you doing in your business? It's giving that, it's the middle part of your octagon. That's
Mhm.
your trainings that you're putting out in the world. We do trainings, we do roundtables every other month with just tapping into other people's audiences. And then we do the trainings every other month. So that's what we do. And so the trainings, like, where are you doing? Are you doing enough trainings in your business to
Oh, we lost you.
serve the people coming into your from other people's audiences, and then also the people who are already in your community, so that they're getting to get more of you. So this is that being able to get people to binge on your long form content, right? So that's just something that I like to share because I think it changes the way we do marketing if you start to think about it from that perspective. So
I I love this so much because it's just such a great lesson. I mean, for all entrepreneurs, but I'm like when you're a guest on podcasts, right, we talk about the call to action. Where are you going to send people? And for a lot of us, we're saying like, come, like, book a call with me, but also having a place for people who find you on podcasts, people who are discovering you for the first time, giving them a place where they can really go deep and spend more time with you is so smart. And I would say don't overthink like, oh, I can't do a launch. Like, I don't have the infrastructure for that. It's so simple. Like, even if you host a Zoom call
Yeah.
once a month, call like our client, Dr. Jolie Hamilton's a relationship coach. She calls it her salon. It's a place where she teaches, her 8 pillars, gives a chance for her community to ask her questions. I love the roundtables like this right here, just to go behind the scenes for y'all. Like, Cami and I came to each other and we want to promote to each other's audiences. And I was like, well, why don't we just collaborate? You bring your expertise on crafting your message. I'll bring my expertise on amplifying it through podcast guesting. We threw together an outline. We each promoted it to our audiences. We threw this together in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't a big launch. It was really simple
Yeah,
and easy. Yeah.
very
And it's
simple.
fun. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
the other part of it is it's fun, right? It's like, how do you make it fun for yourself? Because if it's not fun, at the end of the day, that energy is going to show up for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And, anything else you want to share, Cami, before I go into
No,
amplification?
I think this is a great turnover to you. So now
Mhm.
that we've been talking about this marketing ecosystem,
Yeah.
let's dive into the podcast guesting side of things.
I love it. I love it. The big takeaways from your section here is really knowing what you stand for. I put in the chat here so you guys can see, some of Kemi's notes, but really getting grounded in what you stand for, bringing that out to the world through long form content, guest podcasting, speaking, podcasting, long form videos so people can binge you very easily because that's what buyers are doing in the nowadays in this current climate. People are moving away from the super divisive, toxic platforms and they're seeking opportunities to hear you speak long form and tapping into other people's audiences, collaborating and allowing your audience to spend time with you, which is a perfect segue into amplification because one of the things I talk all the time about is networking with podcast hosts. So, if you've been a guest on any number of podcasts, you could go back to any or all of the hosts that you felt a great connection with and say, I think we have really complementary messages. I think we have really complementary audiences. Would you want to do a collaboration training together? And like what that looks like is like how Cami and I did it is we literally had a 10-minute Zoom call. Now, Cami and I have worked together for a long time, so we already had like deep trust and rapport, but we had a 10-minute call. We kind of threw some ideas of like, this is something that I teach on a lot. This is something that I teach on a lot. Let's put it together. We collaborated on a Google outline. We each promoted it on social and to our list a couple times. And here we are. So you could do that with a podcast host that has interviewed you. You get a little bit more visibility to their audience. They get visibility to your audience. And now you have more content because I'm going to take the recording of this call. I'm going to give it to Cami. We're both going to put it up on our YouTube channels. We're both probably going to make clips from it and put the clips up on social media. Like there's so much that we can do with this content. Okay. So that's just one idea. And number one, I mean, we've already talked about this, but like make a plan to be consistently getting interviewed on targeted podcasts. This is what we do. We have some of our clients at Interview Connections here. If you're not working to get booked on podcasts, that's what we do. So you could just reach out to me, interviewconnections.com/call if you want to learn about getting on podcasts and having us book you. Now, we talked about the podcast one sheet. So this is really important. This is a one pager, a professionally designed PDF that has your bio, your topics and your questions. And so your bio is really going to communicate that essence of your message of what you stand for. And some of the most powerful podcast bios literally says what you stand for. Like Kimmy, I don't know what your podcast bio says, but I'm guessing it has something about what you stand for, like
Oh, it
your
definitely says that. It definitely has it on there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as you get really clear and grounded in what that message is and what you stand for, like it could literally say that. Anyone here want to put their what they stand for? If they've got some clarity on
Yes.
what that message is, put it in the chat. I would love to see it. And put it in the chat because I'll just see that and give you a sense of like how much more powerful your podcast interviews will sound when the host is introducing you and saying what you stand for. So put it in the chat. I challenge you, even if you don't feel like it's perfect, just what comes to mind? What do you stand for? And put it in the chat. Okay. Your topics and questions, these are going to keep the podcast hosts on message with you. It's going to keep them asking you about what you want to be asked about and what is most in alignment with that message that you want to get out into the world. Let's see. Did anyone put their message?
Yeah.
Okay.
Frankie
Frankie
did.
says the God of permission doesn't exist. You can start writing today. So your bio on your podcast one sheet, Frankie, could say something like Frankie Rollins is a stand for, the God of permission doesn't exist and you can start writing today. Like even just saying that, it's so powerful. Catherine Spears, um, and I'm having a harder time writing these in my head than I thought I would, but you get the sense. Catherine Spears firmly believes that courage without capacity is collapse. Like, boom, like if I hear that at the beginning of a podcast episode, I'm like, oh, I'm locked in. Like, that's really captivating. So, and I know Kimmy said this isn't a marketing tagline, but like, allow me to make it a part of your marketing.
But also, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, it's actually that can drop in. I mean, they
Yeah.
definitely can say that right up front, and that way you're known as that, right? So it's
Yeah.
definitely, it's not necessarily, you're not converting it into a marketing tagline, but they can describe you in that way. Um,
Yeah.
and that's good positioning all the way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, I love that. Dinah Vink demystifies the perimenopause transition with science-based guidance.
Mm.
So, getting really clear. I love this. This is great, y'all. All right, so I want to give you a bunch of tips on how to repurpose your podcast interviews. So now that you're actually going out and you're getting on podcasts, you're creating this long-form content, you're sharing your message, we want to now amplify it. One second. We want to amplify your message by not just doing a podcast interview, but taking your podcast interview and getting it out into the world 10x. So, number one, before your podcast interview is even recorded, do a post on social media when you schedule the interview to share with your audience that you are booked. I love that Kimmy said, you already have people in your audience. You already
Yeah.
have people in your audience that want to work with you. Margie and I talk about this as like we're all already sitting on a pot of gold. We're going out and collaborating and getting in front of other people's audiences because we want to grow that pot of gold. But don't forget, it's already there. You already have people that will become your client maybe today, maybe in 5 minutes, maybe in a year from now, they're already on your list. They're already following you. So, by sharing with your audience that you are getting booked on podcasts, that you are speaking, that you are getting booked, that is going to remind them that you are somebody that has a message. It'll wake them up and re engage them in what you're doing. And this can also like trigger more opportunities. Like our client, Christina L. Woods, she does this and people reach out and invite her to speak at retreats and get on other people's podcasts because she's talking about it. Also, the day of the recording, immediately after the recording, when the interview goes live, do a post on social media to talk about your interview. I know we kind of started this conversation about the divisiveness of social media and people, it's a little divisive and toxic at times on social media. But that doesn't mean you pull back because whenever I post on social media, I'm very present and tuned into the fact that there is a lot of negativity and I want to contribute positivity. So I don't just pull back altogether and say I'm out of here. I'm like what can I do to pour more positivity into this cup? It's like there's this great metaphor. I don't know who came up with it, but if you have a really dirty cup of water, one way to make it cleaner is to keep pouring clean water in and eventually it'll get really really clean. And so that's my mindset with social media is like I don't always like what I see on there, but if I'm posting something positive, that's one more positive post in the world.
Love that so much, Jess.
Yeah. Yeah. So tag the host too, because that's a way for you to amplify and get visibility to other people's audiences by tagging other people in your stories, like the host that you're going to be a guest on. Maybe if you listen to an episode of the person's podcast that you're going to be a guest on and you listen to like one of their guests, tag that guest. Say, hey, I just listened to, I'm excited to be a guest on so and so's podcast to prepare for the interview. I just listened to their interview with, and then tag that guest. Now you're getting connected with their other guests and expanding your network. Maybe there's a collaboration there. So, really look at your guest podcasting as a way to build your network and be very intentional about making those connections. All right. And then promote the interview when it goes live. This is where you can use AI tools to create short form clips. Long form content is super important. And also, sometimes it is the short form content and the short clips that gets people in the
People there.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a tool called Opus Pro, which I use. It's really, really easy to just paste in a link to the video or upload a video file and it'll turn it into short form clips. And there's something that is different, like the energy of a short clip, like an Instagram reel or a TikTok that came from a longer form piece of content. I think it has a different energy than just a short, clip that you make as a 30-second video. You can also turn the transcripts of your long form content into a book, into articles. Like a lot of us, I know I'm a verbal processor, I'm an extrovert. Opus Pro, Opus.pro. I'll put a link in
I'll
the.
do it.
Oh,
Copy
thank
that.
him. Thank you. Um, yeah, a lot of us are like our best content comes from responding. If you know human design, you might be a responder or a generator. Like your best content comes when you are responding to questions and you're speaking. And so you could take the transcript of what you're speaking and then turn it into written content. So you can really repurpose it and leverage it. And that will really expand and increase, build your footprint online. You can also create a Spotify playlist of all of your podcast appearances. So that way, when you are talking with people in your audience, when you're in that, marketing ecosystem, you can share with your audience the interviews you've done. Our client, Lauren Elise Rogers, does this. She is very present on Instagram. That's like a big platform for her. And she has linked on her Instagram a Spotify playlist of all of her podcast appearances. And she has people who have been following her on Instagram and then they start listening to her interviews on other people's podcasts. And that's what moves them to saying, okay, I want to work with you. Now I'm locked in. But if they were just clicking through her stories, just watching those short little 20-second videos of her sharing, it wouldn't quite be enough. They need that hour long, content to be moving to wanting to work with her. And also share your podcast appearances with your prospects, with your list, with your clients. Regardless of if somebody has already become your client or if they haven't yet booked a call with you, share with them opportunities to spend time with you, to listen to you speak, to hear your message. There's a reason I invited all of our clients at Interview Connections to this call because it's not like somebody becomes my client and I'm like, okay, bye. Like I want to keep educating, keep connected with you because I want to work with you for years to come and introduce you to people like Cami. So stay connected with your clients, stay connected with your list and give them opportunities to spend time with you because that is why they chose to work with you is because they want to learn from you. And then also showcase your podcast appearances on your website or a media page. Like make sure that you are sharing your interviews so that when people are looking you up and they're deciding, okay, I want to like learn more about this person, you're making it really easy for them to listen to you speak. So I think
Awesome.
we have
Yeah.
a
I
lot
mean,
of
I'm just
time.
looking through, I've been taking notes. There's several new things that I'm not doing that I'm already, oh my gosh, I'm adding that to my list. And the Spotify playlist on Instagram is a brilliant one. I love that one.
Yeah.
I think that's just, I've got the Spotify playlist and it's on my website, but I don't have it other places. So what a great way to do that. And I also love, sharing it with your clients. I think that just is that deeper engagement of
Mhm.
of your client base. So
I
so many good
also
tips.
I didn't have this written down, but I started this by recording myself speak. So I'm going to show you guys this. When you're interviewed on a podcast, right? Like we're doing this collaboration. I'm recording it on Zoom. So what will go up on YouTube is the recording of the Zoom call. So when you're on a podcast, that's what will go up. It's the recording of your interview that is recorded on the computer. But what you can do is you can use your phone and you can record yourself actually doing the interview. So for the first few minutes of this collaboration, I was recording myself on my phone. And so I'll be able to take this recording on my phone, which is me saying the same thing, but it's a different point of view and it's kind of a
Yeah,
different quality. And so there are ring lights that you can get on Amazon that have a place that can hold your phone, have it just kind of off to the side. And it's like you don't even have to look at the phone. It's sort of this like fly on the wall point of view. I'll take that. I'll see how the what I'm saying in the clip. I might even mute it and then put music
yeah.
over it and have some text on the video because B-roll content does very, very well on Instagram. So there's all different ways that you can repurpose your speaking and your message and to really amplify and get seen by more people.
That's a really good one. I like because it's just a way to create more content so
Yeah.
easily, but something you're already doing.
Yeah, and the video quality on Zoom is not always the best.
Mhm.
So when you can record yourself through your phone, and also pro tip, if you have an iPhone, record with this camera because a lot of us like, and I did this for so long, I would record in selfie mode because I want to be able to like look at myself and make sure, but the quality of this camera is not as good as the one here.
Ah,
So get in the habit of like you know, putting it on a tripod so you can film with this camera. It'll be the quality is insanely better with that. So that's my pro tip there.
Jess, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
The podcast, the number of podcast listeners is growing significantly out there. Can you just, I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's such an important platform for entrepreneurs right now. Just give us some of the stats behind that because I know it's really that the numbers are really tremendous.
It's it's incredible. Just to give perspective, when I first started Interview Connections in 2013, I think there was about 2 to 300,000 podcasts in the world, and
Mhm.
now there are 3 to 4 million. So the number of podcasts that are out there has grown significantly. And with that, the number of listeners. I don't have up-to-date data. Like I can't recall like how many listeners, but it's like the percentage of the population that listens to podcasts has grown and grown and
Yeah,
grown.
yeah.
And that's how I know it's grown is because like people ask me and I say when I in 2013, 2014, when people asked me what I did and I said I book podcast interviews, I had to define what a podcast was when I told them what my business is. I had to say, like, it's like a radio show, but it's on the internet and you can listen whenever you want because it's not live. That is how, and now, like, everyone knows what a podcast is, right? Like, everyone
Totally.
knows about it. It's huge. The platform's growing. And also just look at where you can see what has a big future when you look at where big money goes, and big money is going into podcasting.
Mhm.
Private equity, venture capitalists, and celebrities. Like when you see how many people who have the stakes are high and there are big dollars when it's going to podcasts, like those people don't waste money. They don't do things for hobby or passion. They do it because it works.
Right.
And so that's how I know it's growing and it really works is because these big companies, these celebrities, they wouldn't do it if it wasn't making money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love the work that you're doing. Where can people get more
Yeah.
information about you and
Absolutely. So If you are not yet getting booked on podcasts and you would like to learn more about working with interview connections, you can go to interviewconnections.com/call. That will take you right to a meeting link where you can schedule a consultation call with me and we'll talk through your business and what your goals are. And I'll explain what it looks like to work with interview connections. So just feel free to book a consultation call at interviewconnections.com/call. And Cami, I know you have your amazing conference coming up, so please tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I'm hosting my 11th annual Extraordinary Women Ignite conference, and we do have men in the room as well. So, men are definitely welcome. And it's an event that is all about, we're going to go deep into your messaging. We're going to get deep into, you're going to walk away with knowing what your one message is. You're going to walk away knowing more about your customer journey. So you're going to have a much more in-depth understanding of your messaging that you're bringing out to the world. You are also going to dive into your marketing and what your plan for 2026. You're developing what you're going to be doing in the new year. It's one of those kinds of events that you actually do work so that you're walking away with a plan for the new year. And it's amazing community. It's being held November 6th through 8th in Colorado. And you can get all the information at camigelner.com/ignite. When you and you have to actually type that in. You can't. So yeah, grab that, Jess. That's
Yeah, I'll
perfect.
put that in
Yeah.
here.
And if you use the code EWR, which is my podcast, Extraordinary Women Radio, you will get $200 off of the ticket as well. So would love to have you guys join us. Connect with me online as well. I mean, I love to be connected, and on any whatever your favorite social is. I'm on all the various socials. So would love to have you guys join us in Colorado in November.
Yes, awesome. And spread the word too if you know anyone that would enjoy what Cami is talking about in Cami's conference. Definitely grab a link and share it because she does have such an incredible community. Yeah, it's just a great community, great vibe. So highly recommend that conference. Yes, Frankie will be there. That's awesome.
Yay, Frankie.
So if you want to get more from Cami, definitely connect with her and go to Ignite.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and get a call booked with Jess, because I think it's going to be, she definitely is going to help you get on a lot of shows. I mean, that's their jam. They've got it down, and they get you on
Mhm.
the great shows as well. I mean, your
Yeah.
community, Jess, is amazing. It's like I just interviewed Christine Woods. I just had her on my show. So it's like you have amazing community, and I've met amazing women and men in your community.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here live. We'll get the replay up shortly. Thank you all so much. And we will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone. Thanks,
Thank
Jess.
you. Bye.
Bye.